Get ready! Get ready! Get ready! Get ready! Get ready!
What's up, everybody, and welcome to NFL Week 2 picks with Aaron and Carter.
What's up?
Okay, so first of all, we're going to review some of the games we got wrong in Week 1. I went 10-6, Carter went 9-7.
Yes.
However, Carter did defeat my fantasy football team, so I guess he's even.
Run.
Okay, so Colts and the Bills, we both took Indy. Carter picked them to win big.
I did.
However, Indy got pretty much dominated the entire game.
I found that really surprising, honestly. I mean, I really thought that Andrew Luck would come up big, but he didn't.
Okay, and we had the throwaway game of the week, Browns at Jets. I picked the Browns.
I picked the Jets.
Obviously, I don't know. Didn't research too much in these two teams. But I guess the Browns are really crappy.
Yep, I've been following the Jets a little bit, and I saw this coming. Because just based off of a lot of their off-season moves, re-signing Cromartie, re-signing Revis, drafting Leonard Williams. They have Harrison as that nose tackle. They've got Richardson and Wilkerson as the ends. I mean, they were going to have a really good defense.
Okay, Panthers beat the Jags.
I found that a little bit surprising. The Jaguars' offense, offensively, they did not take enough shots downfield in terms of the passing game. And in the running game, there just wasn't enough creativity. I mean, it's like Yeldon would break off a 10-yard run, then they would just run the exact same play again, and it would just get stuffed.
Yeah, it was a pretty evenly matched game, but unfortunately the offense looked a lot like it did last year instead of the promising preseason. You saw Bortles throw another pick six, and then Myers missed a
field goal and an extra point.
And if you take away those two mistakes, you got a tie game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was pretty rough.
I guess in the coming weeks, the Jags really need to cut down those mistakes and just take care of business.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought that was a really winnable game against Carolina.
I mean, really, it came down to injuries, though, I think, for the Jaguars. Yes, the Panthers lost Kelvin Benjamin for the year, and yes, I think he's actually the best player on that team, even better than Cam Newton. But the Jaguars were without both Julius Thomas, their best offensive player, and Senderick Marks, their best defensive player. And Senderick Marks would have been there to stop a lot of those third and long scrambles that Cam Newton had, where he just run it straight up the middle, when he just couldn't throw the ball anywhere. I feel like Senderick Marks would have made the difference defensively, and Julius Thomas would have made the difference offensively for the Jaguars to have won this.
Okay, so Seahawks at Rams. We both picked Seattle to win. I predicted a close game, and the Rams did end up winning in overtime.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all knew there was going to be a fairly close game. As I mentioned before, this Seattle defense isn't what it used to be. I mean, who knows when Cam Chancellor is going to come back? You only have Richard Sherman remaining in that core of cornerbacks, and honestly, it's not going to be the same team. Offensively, I don't have much faith in that offensive line, but Russell Wilson's still a good player. Jimmy Graham's good. There will be some productivity there.
Okay, so a couple more noteworthy games. The Chargers stormed back in the second half to beat the Lions after it looked like the Lions had that game in control.
Mm-hmm.
Denver ends up edging out Baltimore, even though it was probably Peyton's worst performance since he was a rookie. It looks like he's basically done as a starter in the NFL.
I agree with that statement. Also, the Ravens' defense has a great front seven. They've got Timmy Jernigan. I want to say Dan Williams is their nose tackle. Maybe Timmy Jernigan's their nose tackle. I think he might be an end, though. I guess Terrell Suggs did go down with the torn Achilles, but they still have Elvis Dumerville, still have C.J. Mosley, still have Darryl Smith, still have Jimmy Smith and Lardarius Webb on the outside for the cornerbacks. They're going to have a good defense, and I think they're going to be able to if their offense can step up and do stuff, then they're going to have some success there.
So in the battle of super hyped first round quarterbacks, Mariota and the Titans completely squash the Buccaneers 42-14.
Isn't that what I said would happen?
Yeah, I thought Tampa was honestly a much better team than this, but in this game, they didn't even look competitive.
I mean, part of that was that Winston just made some early mistakes that really cost the team. At the end of the day, they can't make some of those mistakes, and I think that Mariota was really able to ride that. We saw Derek Morgan get a pretty good pass rush going, and the Buccaneers' offensive line just isn't as good as it needs to be for a rookie quarterback to be able to have success.
Okay, in the Sunday night game, the Cowboys came out looking really flat, and the Giants, who a lot of people were down on, actually forced some turnovers and got out to a pretty big lead, but Cowboys had a really improbable comeback in the fourth quarter and end up barely edging out the Giants.
Yeah, I mean, I picked the Cowboys in this one. I thought the Giants wouldn't perform as well as they did. Their defense came out pretty big in terms of turnovers, but what are you going to do? Des Bryant's out for the next few weeks. It's going to be interesting to see where this Cowboys team goes from here on out.
Okay, in the first Monday night game, we had initially the Falcons completely destroying Philadelphia in basically every aspect. And then strong Eagles comeback in the second half ultimately comes up a bit short due to some questionable play calling by Philly.
I wouldn't say it's questionable play calling. I would say it was Chip Kelly doubting himself. I mean, the issue was that Chip Kelly waited too long on that 4th-and-1 play to send the kicker out there. So the kicker gets out there. He has 0 time to set up and go through his routine. He's off mentally. He misses the kick. There's a 4th-and-1 play. Should they have gone for it? Yes. They have DeMarco Murray. They have Ryan Matthews. They have Darren Sproles. Do something with those guys. You are paying them a total of like $50 bajillion a year for those 3 guys right there. So you know what? Go out, utilize them, get that 4th-and-1.
Okay, and the final game of the week, Vikings at Niners. We both got this wrong. Carlos Hyde has strong performance, even though it was a pretty atrocious game at both ends. 49ers win 20-3. And that brings us to week 2 picks. Okay, so in the Thursday night game, Broncos at Chiefs. I see Peyton Manning not having much success, considering the Chiefs are coming off a strong road win, heading into their home opener at Arrowhead, known to be a very strong home stadium. I see the Chiefs winning this one.
I have the Chiefs winning this one as well. I mean, we saw the Broncos just be fairly ineffective last week, and I think the Chiefs, with Justin Houston on that defense, they'll do well. Offensively, we've seen a much better wide receiver play. Jeremy Maclin's elevated this team a bit, and I think the Chiefs have this one.
Okay, first Sunday game, Patriots at Bills. Now, made a mistake of underestimating Buffalo last week. However,
Agreed.
I have a feeling the Patriots, they are a more complete team than Indianapolis, who I personally feel is a bit overrated.
I agree.
So, I just gotta pick the Patriots in this one. I mean...
Same. I mean, the Bills are going to be good.
I'm sure it will be a close game, for sure.
I don't think Tyrod Taylor can duplicate those numbers. I mean, he put up an incredible performance for a guy who's never started before, and in fact had never thrown a touchdown in a regular season game. So, I mean, I think we'll see some struggles from him early on, but I think ultimately the Patriots take this one, definitely.
Next game, Titans at Browns. Now, we see a Titans team coming off a really strong road win. Browns are kind of the opposite. They kind of got stomped by the Jets even though
Curb
it's
stomped.
a Jets team that not many people thought would be very competitive.
I knew they'd be competitive.
Well,
I said that last
Carter did
week.
predict them. So
I
I see the Titans winning this one.
I see Titans winning this one. I do not see Mariota replicating his productivity from last week. I mean, he's good, but I don't think there's any way for him to be able to put up the same numbers, especially when he's going up against a guy like Joe Hayden at the corner position for the Browns. But he Mariota is going to be good. Their defense is going to be able to generate some pass rush. I have zero confidence in Johnny Manziel's ability to do anything. And yeah, Titans definitely take this one, though I'm not sure how big of the difference in score there will be.
All right, Texans at Panthers. Now, once again, I've said this before, the Panthers are not a very good team this year, just because mostly due to injuries, and also in the Jaguars game, their sort of leader on defense, Luke Kuechly, is injured. So I see them coming into this home opener a bit headstrong off the win to Jacksonville, and I see the Texans walking out of Carolina with a win.
I disagree. I see Carolina taking the win here. I I don't have the confidence in the Texans' offense. You know, going up against the Panthers, I still see Cam Newton being able to be more productive ultimately here. The Texans, they have a good defense, but offensively, I don't trust whatever is going on there. It's really unfortunate that they've ended up in this position. You know, honestly, and I wish they would have just taken someone other than Clowney in the first round last year. I mean, if they had taken Bortles, if they had taken Carr, if they had taken Bridgewater, they'd be in a different position in this situation. I mean, it's just unfortunate.
Or they could just do my idea and clone J.J. Watt and have him play every position.
I agree, actually. Honestly, why not? Why don't you just put in J.J. Watt offensively? Why don't you just put him in at quarterback? Like, what? I mean, is he really going to do that much worse than Brian Hoyer?
Or Ryan Mallett.
Or Ryan Mallett? I mean, either one. Is he going to do worse than either of those guys? Probably not. Honestly.
Okay, well, anyway, next game, Cardinals at Bears. Now, with Chicago, you kind of have to look at them as the bizarro team where they're completely horrible at home and actually do better on the road. And for that reason, I see the Cardinals winning this game.
I see the Cardinals winning this game too. I mean, they've showed flashes of the last few years, and I think they're going to do well. I think they're going to do well this year.
All right. Now we have kind of what should be a good game, Chargers at Bengals.
Yes.
I see these two teams as fairly evenly matched. I give the home field advantage and victory to Cincinnati in this one.
I am giving it to the Chargers for this one. Although I think it's going to be a very close game, and I do love Jeremy Hill. Jeremy Hill's a great young player in the NFL. I see the Chargers just carrying on from what they did last week. I like what's going on there. Offensively, you know, Keenan Allen kind of came out of his shell last week, and I just like them to continue and do well. I think the Bengals are good, but I don't know if they're good enough to overcome the Chargers.
Okay, Lions at Vikings. Lions coming off a very demoralizing loss at the hands of the Chargers, facing another divisional road game this week against a Vikings team that did not look good at all on Monday Night Football. So I have to see the Lions sort of avenging their loss from last week, getting the victory.
I actually have to disagree with you here. I think we see AP come out, or AD, I guess, just all day, and just wreck the Lions' defense. I mean, Adrian Peterson is still a good running back. Granted, he didn't put up fantastic numbers last week, but there was one play where he carried four 49er defenders on his back for like 10 yards. So I think he's still got it. I think they come out big. I think they win.
NFC South divisional game. Buccaneers head to New Orleans to face the Saints after Buccaneers coming off a pretty stinking home opener against Tennessee. I don't think it gets any better for them. New Orleans is going to be pumped up for their home opener. They're always pumped up.
I have the
I see the
Saints
Saints getting
penciled
a
in
win.
here.
Yeah, I see
I
the
do
Saints getting a
too.
win.
The Buccaneers, they just have too many holes, and it's not going to be pretty. Offensive line wise, it's not great. Cam Jordan wrecks this line. Cam Jordan just wrecks the Buccaneers offensive line, and unfortunately, we see another abysmal performance from. Not I wouldn't say Winston's performance was overall abysmal last week, but I would say early on it did not look good, and I don't see them being able to have too much production offensively here.
Okay, Falcons at Giants. We see kind of two teams with opposite situations here, with the Falcons giving up a big deficit in the second half of their game, but barely hanging on to get the win, while the Giants had a big lead and they actually blew the lead to lose a pretty tough loss on the road. So I sort of see the Falcons being a bit overconfident in their win over Philly, and I see the Giants getting a home win here.
I have to give this one to the Falcons. I mean, we saw Julio Jones put up redonkulous numbers early on last week, and I think he'll be able to do it again. Of course, there were a ridiculous amount of penalties called in the second half. If you watch that Falcons and Eagles game, I mean, it was like there were several drives for both the Falcons and the Eagles, whereas like every other play there was some big penalty, bringing the play back, and it was really unfortunate. I thought both teams played pretty well. And I think Julio Jones has a big week. I think they cut down on those penalties, and the Falcons just destroy the Giants.
All right, next game we have the 49ers head to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. I think the 49ers' performance on Monday night was kind of a fluke. I don't really see them having much success against a Steelers team coming off a pretty close game at New England. Keep in mind that was a Thursday night game, so they've had many more days to rest than San Francisco, who recently played just this Monday. So I think the Steelers are well rested. They're going to get the home win here.
I am giving this one to the Steelers as well. I mean, I feel like the 49ers just aren't good enough at this point to be able to do what they need to do and to beat the Steelers. And I think Antonio Brown has a huge game. I think Big Ben puts up huge numbers to go along with Antonio Brown. I just don't see the 49ers being able to do what they did previously. I mean, Steelers win this one, definitely.
Okay, Rams at Washington Redskins.
God.
The Redskins actually held their own last week against the Dolphins. I'm sure they covered the point spread. However, St. Louis is also coming off a very strong performance against the defending NFC champions, the Seahawks. I think the Rams are going to get the road win here.
I see the Rams getting the win as well. I mean, the Redskins offensively, especially on the offensive line, are just in disarray, and the Rams defensive line is pretty darn good. I mean, arguably the best in all of football right now. And the Redskins have some things to work out, as we've seen. Rams take this one.
Okay, now on to the 4 o'clock games. Baltimore Ravens at Oakland Raiders. Once again, just like last week, I see the Ravens being actually a better team than Cincinnati. So they will replicate the result from last week. I see them winning.
I see them winning big as well. I mean, like I said earlier, this Ravens front seven is fantastic. They lost Suggs, but they've got plenty of other guys on that defense. And, I mean, if the Raiders are not going to be able to have any production against a team like Cincinnati, they're not going to have any production offensively against a team like the Ravens. So, Ravens take this one.
So, Carter's learned from his mistake. He picked the Raiders last week.
I thought they would be different this year.
Well, you thought wrong. Still Oakland.
The Raiders.
The Raiders. Okay. Dolphins at Jaguars. I think this would be a very close game.
I'm taking the Jaguars. I swear. This time it's not because I'm a Jaguars fan.
I actually this is a rematch of last year, a game I actually went to where the Dolphins came to Jacksonville. In that game, it was a lot closer than the score indicated at the end, with the Dolphins winning. Because honestly, in the first 2.5 quarters, the Jaguars completely dominated the Dolphins. Their defense completely shut down Tannehill.
Mm-hmm.
However, the Dolphins completely turned it around by getting two pick sixes in that game. So I actually believe if Bortles can cut down on his mistakes, the Jaguars should be able to win against this Dolphins team.
I agree.
However, I still see the Dolphins winning this.
I know Sue's a good player, Ndamukong Suh. I think the Jaguars' offensive line, at least on the right side, is improved enough. And before you go off saying, yeah, but the Jaguars gave up 5 sacks last week, 2 of those were given up by Sam Young, the backup left tackle, who is just awful after Luke Jokel went down with an injury. And I'm pretty sure the other 3, at least one of those was given up by Luke Jokel. It's the right side featuring Stephen Wisniewski, Brandon Linder, and Jeremy Parnell is definitely better, and I see them being able to hold off Ndamukong Suh. Maybe not Cameron Wake. If Cameron Wake is matched up against Luke Jokel or Sam Young, then it's going to be rough. It's going to be rough, but
We have a pretty major divisional matchup in the NFC East here, with the Cowboys hitting into Philly to take on the Eagles. Dallas not looking very strong in their home opener against what many thought would be a poor team in the New York Giants. They end up barely coming back to win with a last-second touchdown, and also they're missing Dez Bryant for the next few weeks. So I see the Eagles winning this game. They're on kind of an uptick after that major comeback in the second half against the Falcons. And the Eagles should beat what I see as an overrated Dallas Cowboys team.
I agree. I think the Eagles had a very good rushing attack last week. We saw just about every single member of that backfield be productive. Matthews, Murray, and Sproles, and I think that'll definitely carry over against the Cowboys. Dez Bryant is out for the next 4 to 6 weeks. That takes away the teeth of that offense for the Cowboys. I hate to say it, but somehow I know that their season's already over.
Okay, Sunday night game. A rematch of the 2015 NFC Championship game. Seahawks, this time heading into Green Bay to take on the Packers.
Now I like this matchup. I'm definitely giving this one to the Packers because of some of the weaknesses I've already mentioned with the Seahawks. And the Packers are able to actually finish it off this time. Brandon Bostic is not there to botch the onside kick. It'll be fine. Packers take this one.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Packers are going to win. I'm pretty sure they were the better team in that NFC Championship game. However, Seattle and the Seattle Stadium is such a hard location to win in. I just believe the fans completely turned that game around. There's no way the Packers should have lost that. It was honestly a monumental collapse. However,
well, is the 4th string tight end Brandon Bostic? Thanks a lot, Bostic.
However, they're at home here. They're coming off a pretty big division win on the road against Chicago. Yeah, I think they win and win handily against the Seahawks team.
Did you say they win handily?
I believe they will.
What does that mean?
I think that Green Bay will win this game by at least 2 touchdowns.
I agree with that. I'm looking at least a 14-point spread there.
Okay, Monday night game. Not too good of a matchup for Monday night. We got the Jets heading into Indy to take on the Colts.
I'm actually going to watch this. Honestly, maybe last week I wouldn't have watched it because, I would have expected the Colts to dominate, but I think the Jets take this one. Shout out to the Jets, yeah. Their defense is way better than at least what Indy's offense looked like last week. And Indy's defense isn't that great. And of course, the Jets' offense isn't that great, but it's going to be a relatively close game, I think.
Well, I see the Colts winning this game. I feel like they underestimated their opponents last week, and as a result, they weren't prepared offensively.
I
And
agree.
Chuck Pagano and his squad, they're a bunch of guys who seem to learn from their mistakes and can improve upon them. Andrew Luck had a fluke game last week.
He
Probably,
still had a pretty decent game considering that it was a
but
loss.
still, he's been so turning out such good numbers over the past few years that 200 yards and 2 touchdowns was still an off game for him.
That's true.
However, it's their
I
home.
think you have to remember he still put up 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, it's a pretty darn good game by a lot of quarterbacks standards.
So it's the Colts home opener. I see the crowd being huge in this game, and I think Indy gets the win on Monday night.
I have to disagree. Respectfully, of course, the Jets will take this one, mainly because of their defense. Actually, you know what? Entirely because of their defense. Their defensive line is way too good for that Indy offensive line.
Okay, so thanks for listening to our picks, everyone. Feel free to give us some feedback in the comments on what you think will happen this week too in the NFL. Um, Carter has made a video giving a shout out
Oh
here.
God!
He made a YouTube poof style video inspired by yours truly.
All I can
But
say is get ready.
well, I'm putting the part of it in the intro of this video to intrigue some of my fans.
Oh yeah.
So go over, check out Carter's video. We'll be back next week for week 3. And that's all for now, guys. Take care.